Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! We're going to Game 7, baby!
Let's go. Game 7. Keith, I didn't think they were going to do it. I thought the season was going to end. I thought the Thunder were going to win it in 6, but I hoped I was wrong, and I'm so happy that I was. The Pacers crush the Thunder, and we get a Game 7. Let's go. That was incredible. I don't know. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen in game 7 now. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's it. Right at Game 7, wild stuff happens. Guys step up. Some guys get super tight and don't play well. It really, anything can happen. I'll be surprised if it's not a close game. Maybe whoever wins pulls away a little bit at the end. We've seen both of these teams do that, but I think it's going to be a close game. But here's what I'm a little concerned in. Nick D-Man must have a camera planted in my house because I do dance to the theme music, but only Trevor can see it.
That's right. So, I can see you behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I'm a little nervous that Nick D-Man. I mean, I don't know what else he's getting out of it other than I was eating honey roasted peanuts a couple minutes ago.
But if they get to see you dance, then that's worth the risk there, huh?
It's a little like the gopher from Caddyshack.
There you go. Oh,
pretty good chair dancer.
I wonder how much of our audience knows that movie. That is one of that's an all-time classic.
I hope a lot of our audience knows it. Like, I'd be surprised if they don't.
I would hope so too.
Yeah,
but the kids these days, man, I don't know. We've obviously got plenty to talk about going on around the league. Of course, we've got the finals. We've got Game 7 coming up. We've got the draft. We've got free agency. We've got the trade market. We've got all of that stuff.
It's a movement. It's a movement. I love it. Let's go.
What I like, if you were to scream Front Office Friday along with Keith in your office, what would the reaction of your
what is the reaction? I guess what would the reaction be? Would people be like, what is happening here? So I told Trevor this. I got maybe I haven't told you this. This might be news for you. So for Sports Business Classroom, which everybody knows now, I'm going to be a instructor at this summer out at Las Vegas Summer League. We had to do like an intro post in the Sports Business Classroom like website where they're organizing everything. And in my post, like, I was like, hey, I'm Keith Smith. I'm going to be out there as an instructor for the salary cap major. And I can't wait to see everybody this summer. The first reply was Front Office Friday. Let's go from one of the students. And then somebody else said, I can't wait till it's SBC edition. So like, it's a movement. It's a movement.
I love it.
Here we go. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right, we're ready.
That's awesome.
Right, bagging some questions so we can jump.
Yeah, guys, get in your questions, your comments. This is Friday. It's your show. Keith, yesterday we had Jake LaRavia on.
Yeah,
and so that was yesterday's show. So we didn't get into a lot of news. So we can get into some news on today's show. But that was a lot of fun having Jake on. And then, of course, the big reveal at the end. You and I were both shocked. I had no idea. I knew someone was driving the car. I had no idea it was Austin Reaves driving the car. And he was there for that whole interview that we did. That was the big reveal. That was a pretty epic moment, but I thought that was a phenomenal interview with Jake overall. He gave us some really great stuff.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that the Lakers were so cheap with his contract that he has to drive Uber in the offseason, but I mean, it's okay. I guess he's doing all right, but
they paid him as much as the league would allow. those were NBA restrictions.
Sure it was. Poor guy has to Uber in the offseason just to make a living. So
hopefully that with new ownership in place for the Lakers, that will be a thing of the past.
That is true. Yeah.
Deep pockets now.
They start losing players for anything beyond basketball reasons. It's we got some problems here.
For sure.
Yeah, let's go. 3 Theory says, let's get a like spike going. Let's go, like spike. Come on, bring it together. We love that. Helps more people find the show and all that stuff. So all right, Trevor, I got a bunch of questions flagged.
Let's do it.
Go.
Let's start flying through them here. Spencer said, what's going on with Ace Bailey, funny. I just talked with
I'm
our
gonna pull
guys.
this one up too. Sorry, from Stephen Gillespie. Stephen does incredible work with the No Ceilings NBA team, whose draft guide, if you're looking to crunch, your work here with less than a week, 5 days to the first round of the NBA draft, get the No Ceilings draft guide. It will be
me. That's me.
Money you spend. It's an incredible. The way they put it together is a lot of fun too. So I would completely highly recommend that. But yeah, Ace Bailey, let's get into that.
That's right. Yeah, that is an interesting situation. In fact, I just talked about it over on the Basketball Bulletin with our guy Bryce Simon. It is a bizarre situation, especially like somewhat. I know people might look at it as strategy, but kind of rude to cancel on the 76ers like the day before he's supposed to go to that workout and go meet with them and all of that. So why? Like what do you think is the reason why all that is happening?
Yeah, I don't know the reason to cancel on Philly, because you would assume your hope in the draft is to get drafted as high as possible, right? That's the general assumption.
Sure.
He's not going 1. We know that. He's not going 2. We know that. So really it comes down to, all right, do you want to go 3? Philly has the 3rd pick. This screams to me that there is someone has promised Ace Bailey that they will draft him if he's available whenever it is they pick, whether that's at the pick they hold or they will trade up to draft him or whatever. And that's also where he wants to be. And they're trying to engineer a spot. I am not comparing Ace Bailey to Kobe Bryant, but if we go way back in the day, he told everybody, don't take me, right? Very famously told the Nets, you better not draft me. Like, I'll go play in Italy for the year and I will not play here. So I think we're in a spot where let's see what this looks like, with that. But I think that's what's happening is they're trying to engineer a destination where they want to go. I don't have a huge issue with it. I just am, I don't like the way they're going about it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I don't like the way they're going about it, and I think I guess the positive thing is for us, it adds an air of mystery to the draft.
Sure.
Like, who is it? Why who is it, and what is it that they see that they think is going to be such a good fit that they're going to want teams to pass on him in the draft so that he can get to a particular team? That's going to be really interesting to watch here. But again, this is all this stuff has come out about his maturity and all how he answers questions. He seems aloof. His performance at the draft combine, in terms of his interactions with clubs at the draft combine, all of that coming out, like that's not all coincidental. This is happening for a reason, and I can't wait to see on draft night when it's all revealed what that reason is. Where is it that he's actually trying to get to? Now, it doesn't mean any of that stuff is wrong and any of those concerns aren't real. They certainly could be, but this time of year, stuff tends to come out for a reason.
Yeah, and I'll say this in talking to a lot of teams over the past week plus about this situation. I have not found a team that has any concerns about Ace Bailey being a bad kid. Nobody thinks that he's a bad kid or that he's going to be trouble or anything like that. Most of the teams have said, hey, he's a goofy 19-year-old, right? He is he kind of is, what most teenagers are. Excuse me. So they're not really worried about that. But it's the whole, like you said, doesn't want to work out for anybody. There was a quote, I think it might have been Jake Fisher who shared the quote was, what's your number one weakness and what are your top 2 strengths? And his answer was, I don't have any weaknesses and I get a lot more than 2 strengths, big dog. Okay, sure. I mean, that's something. I mean, all right, I guess. Confidence is key, but that's a little bit of something as a quote there. So
that's like Michael Scott saying, what did he say? I care too much and I work too hard. Those are my biggest weaknesses, which are actually straight. I mean,
I wonder if Ace Bailey's a little stitious.
He might be a little stitious, not superstitious, but he could be a little stitious.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't fault them for doing what you can. The draft is something you talk to a lot of players and a lot of agents. They don't love the draft process. Most of them would prefer it would just go away and it'd be a free market like it is in soccer for the most part. But I think we're just in a spot where so you do what you can to kind of control the process a little bit. And here we go. All this said, Ace Bailey is still number 3 on my board. I've toyed with moving him behind VJ Edgecombe. That's as far as I'll drop him, though, is 4. This kid is still an outstanding scorer. He's a pretty good rebounder. I think he reads the floor okay. I think he's actually a good defender when he's engaged and cares to be. So I think he can really play. So I'm not by any means like, well, take this kid and drop him to 20th or anything like that.
He's not falling that far. It's not going to be a Cam Whitmore slide.
That's it. Well, that's the last thing I want to say on this too. This is different from Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore's situation was very injury driven. There were a couple teams that had concerns about a couple different things with his medical and took him completely off their board. Same thing happened to Michael Porter Jr. Why he dropped because a handful of teams are like, nope, not touching him with the back stuff. We're out. We're not going to do that. And that ended up sort of true. Like he did have to have another back surgery. I think 2 actually since he's been in the NBA. So I think we're just in a spot where Ace Bailey's trying to pick his spot to some degree and land somewhere where I think he can play and be really good right away.
What's the ideal team for him?
I think Brooklyn. I don't know that he drops that far, but if Brooklyn has 4 first-round picks in this draft, if they could start packaging something together and maybe get up to 5 or 6, I think he would be really good in Brooklyn because you look at that Brooklyn team. Who is the Nets' signature player right now? I don't have one. Right,
Cam Johnson, I guess.
Yeah,
Cam Thomas.
Johnson, who knows? I mean, would you be surprised if in a week and a half Cam Johnson's not on the Nets anymore? I certainly wouldn't be.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, then it's Cam Thomas, Daron Sharp, Nick Claxton. Like, those are all nice players, but they don't have like that true guy that it's like, all right, we're gonna build around. And if you're Ace Bailey, kind of go there and all right, get all the shots you need and you're going to have a pretty free reign, not to play like a crazy person, but just go out there and play pretty free and develop and figure it out. And I think Jordi Fernandez would be fantastic with him. So let's see, where that goes.
And we'll see ultimately where he lands up. All right, let's go here. Craig said, where does the Bane trade put Orlando in the East? Do you foresee any other moves coming from them? And if so, who? So I'll say, yes, I would assume that Orlando is not done just after this Desmond Bane trade. I'm sure there's other things that they can do. Where does this put them in the East? In my mind, Kate, it puts them in the mix. It puts them in the mix to be right there with the Knicks. I'm not ready to say they're better than the Knicks. I'm not ready to say they're better than the Cavs or some of those other teams because we need to
the
see
Pacers,
them. Of course, the Pacers are in the
title.
No, but I mean, the Pacers are going to be the top, right? And then everybody else is going to be competing with them.
Yeah.
So I think they could be one of those teams that's in the mix, but I'm not ready to put them above those teams yet until we see it on the floor. But I think Desmond Bane gives them the potential to be on the level of some of these other teams that are gunning to get to the East Finals and maybe be the Eastern Conference's NBA Finals representative.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think there is a really good chance that Orlando's a top 4 team in the East right now. So I don't, but let's see. It's June 20th. We have the draft and the entirety of free agency to play out yet. So I think we'll get there. With that, but as it stands right now, sure. Well, why not a top 4 team? Like they've kind of got everything you need to be really, really good. And I think they will be.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Nicholas said, is there any location more attractive than Seattle or Las Vegas that could potentially take those spots from them? No. I mean, that's just short. I would love to go break down like, oh, it could be this city, could be that city, but it's pretty sure it's going to be Seattle or Vegas. Seattle's been high on the priority list for a while, and the NBA just already has such a great relationship in Las Vegas. We'll be out there for Summer League in just a few weeks. I mean, this is the NBA and Vegas has been a relationship that's been building now for some time. So I don't think there's any other location that's more attractive, and I would be shocked if it's anything but Seattle and Las Vegas at this point for expansion.
Yeah, I think there is a sense that Seattle is owed a team, if you will. I put that in
Sure.
quotations only because I think they are looking at it as, yeah, Seattle's not getting a team if they're like, hey, we'll give you $1 billion, which that sounds ridiculous because that's that's like $1 million.
Or
But it's like,
$10 billion.
yeah, it's going to be more like 6 or 7 billion to buy into the
Yep.
league. And it, I'll just address that too, because I've said that a couple times on radio spots, and people are like, really? Like, is that like really going to be that much? And my thing is, yeah, because your franchise may not be worth that right out of the gate, but you have to pay the owners to let you buy in. You're buying membership in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of it. And those owners then have to take their revenue pie, they get half of it, the players get the other half, and split it two more ways, 32 ways instead of 30. So, that's why it's going to be so much. But I'm with you. I'd be very surprised if it's not those two.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said this before when we've talked about expansion. I think there is a chance that how this ends up playing out for the NBA is they get like 4 or 5 or 6 cities that are really interested, and they're able to put a couple more on the back burner. And I don't think we get 2 teams and go another 20 years before we get more teams. I think they may be one of, if not the first league to jump to 34 teams. I just think there's a chance they're going to look and say, man, there's a lot of money available here. Or, at least let's, back table these teams for now, back burner these teams for now, and we'll figure this out a little bit down the line.
All right, let's go here. This kind of piggybacks on it, assuming the process gets announced for expansion, because now suddenly there's a little bit of buzz that, maybe like this summer they could announce expansions coming. The time frame for getting 2 teams up and running, I would say, and this is just my shot at this, would be minimum of 2 years to actually get a team into the NBA. We'd see 2 full NBA seasons before a team would come in, because you have to sort through all the bids. You have to select a team. That team has to obviously have a place to play. They need to have an arena. They need to be all the different logistics that go into creating a team, creating the team name, trademarking that name, design, graphic design, like all of the millions of things that have to happen for a team to become a team. It takes time. So I would say minimum 2 more seasons before we see an expansion team actually in the NBA.
Yeah, I will say, if it happened this summer, they're like, we're definitely expanding.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. 2 seasons play out, and then that 3rd season. So that'd be what we'd see: the 25-26 season, 26-27, maybe 27-28, maybe 28-29.
Yeah.
Be somewhere in that range before we'd actually see those teams start playing. So can we get it? This question comes up a lot. Can we get an expansion mock draft? Yeah, at some point. Like,
once
right
expansion
now,
is a thing,
yeah,
we will definitely be doing those, but it's a little early to do an expansion mock draft right now, because who knows what we could project right now. Okay, this team would protect these players, or this team would protect these players. Maybe this trade would be available, but by the time expansion actually gets announced, things could look very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, yes, that will be coming, assuming expansion is a thing, but it will probably be more when it's a real, yes, this is happening type situation.
Yeah. And I would I'll let everybody know, we will, over on Spot Track, we've already talked about it. We're going to build out a whole mock expansion draft tool set where you can go in and do the protected lists for the teams, and then actually do the draft out. But I will caution, there's nothing, literally all it says with expansion, as far as like an expansion draft process, is see prior CBA for like 4 CBAs in a row, because we haven't had one.
Right.
So there's no, I would very much caution everyone on, well, what they've done in the past is exactly what they'll do in the future, because I think they will start to look at things maybe a little bit differently. the league is in a very different place than the last time we had expansion. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll have all that built out, and everybody will be able to kind of do that, much like we've got our mock draft tool up right now if you want to use that. And obviously the trade machine, which is that thing is pumping right now. People are cranking away on that one.
It's that time of year. 'Tis the season.
Sure is.
Jermaine says, Keith, I saw you went on Locked On Pistons a few weeks ago. Can you see Detroit trading Ivy or Duren? And what do you think the Pistons would want?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't think they will. I think there's far greater likelihood they just extend both of them and kind of keep things moving forward with their young core and improving core. With that, I know talking to Pistons people, they kind of view Jaden Ivey as almost a big acquisition to this group because they didn't have him in the second half of the season in the playoffs, and they feel like we had one more ball handler, scorer, shooter on the floor, maybe they beat the Knicks in the first round. So they're super excited to get him back in the fold, and they're still really high on Jalen Duren. So I don't think they would trade either one. It's not that they're untouchable, and yeah, if they were to get in on a major move, it's funny. I've seen a couple people throughout, like, why doesn't Detroit jump in and try to go get try to go
KD?
get Kevin Durant, right? Like, yeah, well, then one of these guys probably has to be in the trade. So, that's a whole different thing as far as just trading them. I don't think that's anything they're looking to
do. A little bit of news. Josh Green, shoulder surgery, out indefinitely, but expected to make a full recovery.
All right.
That just came out. Okay. All right, let's go here. Khalil, let's say OKC loses in Game 7. I know they are the favorite. I haven't looked at the odds recently, but I know they're the favorites in Game 7. But if they do lose, do they run it back? Or would that cause them to make a big swing, significant roster change?
I think you mostly run it back, right? I wouldn't get too crazy. No. You're in Game 7, right? We don't need to get so nuts with this. Like, I really think just run it back, right? Like, you maybe make a couple rotation moves around the edges of your rotation, but I'm not making any kind of big trade because they also have to balance. They're going to be pretty expensive in a couple years, and that's where, all right, maybe this you could look at and say, well, this was our last summer to go make a big swing. They certainly have the assets to do it if they really wanted to do it, but I think you more or less run it back, make a couple upgrades to the backside of your rotation, and go forward.
All right. Mohammed said, if you could interview one current NBA player on the NBA front office show, who would it be and why? So any current player that you could potentially interview in today's NBA. Boy, there's so many guys.
Yeah, like 50 guys jumped to mind.
Right. I'm gonna not pick a Laker because that's too obvious. I think if I were to pick a Laker.
I think for me, I might go with like Chris Paul, because Chris Paul's had a pretty good, interesting career. I think people forget he was on a team that moved, early on in his career. Like, what was that like? Then he's played on all these teams that were always really good, but never quite got there. Like, I think he's just, when you've played for 20 years, you've got to have a million cool stories, and he just seems like a guy who is pretty good in interviews too.
So I would, and I like the way you're thinking, and from my experience interviewing players, younger players tend to be not as verbose with their answers. They tend to be a little bit more withholding. They're concerned about saying the wrong thing. They're a little bit more careful with things, so it can be a little bit tougher to get stuff out of them when you're asking them questions and get details and things like that. And if you have any questions or if there's any doubt on that, go look at like the interview I did with Austin Reeves the other day compared to when he was a rookie and how much more detail he puts into his answers now because he's more secure in the NBA, he's more sure of his footing and all of that. And so I would also lean towards a veteran player, somebody who's been around a while, somebody who I think is not going to shy away from tough questions or not be unwilling to give what they really think. And the first name that pops to my head, Keith, it is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, I think Kevin Durant will say whatever he wants to say about whatever topic, and he will tell you exactly what he really thinks and not worry about what anybody else thinks about his answer. And so I think it would be a lot of fun to talk to KD, especially given all the drama with him going to Golden State, how his career was looked at after doing that, being in Brooklyn, what happened there, the injury, what happened at the trade deadline with the Suns. What was that like, being blindsided in that situation? Kevin Durant, I think, would be a really interesting one.
Yeah, he's pretty funny too. Like,
yeah,
his interviews back in the day when he did a whole set with Bill Simmons were pretty funny. And if you can just get him to talk ball, like, he's incredible. Like, he's really, really good. Breaking down stuff about just the game. So yeah. Hey, but you're right. I mean, there's like, that list is like, it's a million guys long. Right?
Sure. Oh, there's so many guys, especially if we get into guys who aren't playing anymore too. Like, there's so many different guys. This person said Anthony Davis would be mine. He has to be off the record though. I can tell you what, from doing interviews in locker rooms with Anthony Davis, he's very quiet.
Yeah,
he's very quiet, and that can be a little bit challenging. Where even I'm, holding the microphone and everything and listening and having a hard time hearing some of his answers and stuff. That was always a challenge.
Like face to face with him, like
face to face in a quiet environment. Then you get a lot better out of.
He's pretty soft spoken.
Yeah. All right, let's go. What do you guys think about the Bruce Brown market? How about Chris Boucher? I think Bruce Brown is that guy that a lot of teams could say, this dude fits for us. This is a guy that we could use. A lot of teams are going to be looking for perimeter defense, a little bit of off-ball creation and things like that. So Bruce Brown, I think, is a fit in a lot of places. I think his market will have a number of teams on it. I don't know, like do I see a team paying more than the full MLE? Probably not. I don't think we get there. Maybe we don't even see anybody go full MLE on him, but I do think there'll be a number of teams that would be happy to bring him into their rotation.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's a part of the MLE guy for me. I don't know that to give him the full amount. And I do wonder, is he someone who first wave or two of free agency gets through, and then we're like, hey, Bruce Brown's still out there. And then teams with the taxpayer MLE are like, hey, you interested? And he may look at that and say, you know what, this is a better spot for me. Maybe I could get a couple million more out of another team, but let me go there for, $5-6 million on the taxpayer MLE, because it's chance to compete, play a big role. So certainly there. Chris Boucher, all signs point to, he's probably just going back to Toronto. Mm-hmm. It sounds like when they shut him down late in the season, because he did not play very much down the stretch for them after they were like fully out. And there was one of the things that kind of was out there was they didn't need to see him play anymore. And part of it was, hey, if you're a good soldier about this, we're going to take care of you in the offseason. So I don't know that he's going anywhere.
All right, let's go here. Saul said, do you suggest the Lakers try to go after Jarrett Allen instead of Kessler? I mean, realistically, they're going to have to go after everybody. Like, they're going to have those conversations with every team. I don't know how available Jarrett Allen is actually going to be. Obviously, there's a much different financial situation there with Allen compared to Kessler. That has to be factored in any kind of trade conversations. But
at least another year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For at least another year. Then Walker Kessler is going to get paid. Yep. But yeah, you've got to have those conversations with all of those teams and see what you can get, value wise, and go from there. I would imagine Jarrett Allen would cost quite a bit to go and trade for. Maybe the Cavs are willing to move on from him. I don't know if he'll cost more than Walker Kessler. I would assume yes, but again, those are conversations that you have to have with all of these teams, and then you got to sort through it and see what makes the most sense.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Since we're on a Lakers topic, I'll pull this one. How can the Lakers go after anybody if the only money they have is available is the MLE, right? And to be clear, it's the mini MLE. It's which we don't really call it the mini mid-level anymore.
We should though.
Yeah.
Because we call it the taxpayer, and that's kind of a misnomer.
Yeah, they're the two stupidest named things in the NBA, because neither one of them really is what it is. But anyway, yeah, they have the smaller MLE. It's the $5.7 million one versus the $14 million one. That said, like we just talked about a little bit with Bruce Brown, this is going to have more spending power at that number than usual, because there's just not cap space available.
Yeah.
And what I'm very curious to see happens this summer is, like last year, a lot of teams just sat on the MLE. It's like, well, we can use it as a trade exception later. So we're going to save that for down the line if we need it, and didn't use it. So you may see the taxpayer MLE kind of get to a place where, hey, that 5.7, that starts looking real attractive to guys who might be looking at a minimum. Now it's not a life-changing amount for these guys in between, but it's still more money. And you don't get tagged with, well, that's a minimum player now. It's,
right.
If you take the taxpayer, okay, that's what they got. So we'll see.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Let's go. Oh, Andrew said, is Bronny playing in Summer League? That was the plan at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I have not heard about anything changing. So yes, I'm assuming he is playing in Summer League.
In my opinion, a little ridiculous if he doesn't. I'm not saying he needs to play every game. And I think the Lakers are playing in both, right? They're doing the California Classic and the Las Vegas Summer League. So you may not see him play. Like, that's like 10 games between the two. You may not see him play that much. It might be plays in half that, but he should. He's a second-year player who's, not second-year guys almost always play unless it's like, yeah, that dude's an all-star. We don't need to.
Wemby wasn't going to play Summer League year 2, right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess my what I'm interested in is, we'll see if he's a Laker, does Dalton Knecht play?
Yeah, he should.
I think he should, but I'm curious. He would be the type of guy that might be a little bit on that bubble.
Yeah, I think what you do with Dalton Knecht is you play him the first handful of games, and if once you're like, all right, Luka is not Luka. I'm sorry, I read a comment that said Luka. Dalton Knecht, because certainly Luka is not playing in Summer League. But if
you're just lumping the white guys together, is that what's happening here?
Yeah, they all look the same. And now we're trying to add Jake LaRavia to the list. Reeves, like, Lakers are gonna be the whitest team in the league. What happened to Boston? I mean, come on. So anyway, if Knecht gets out there and looks awesome in those first few games, it's like he's not getting anything out of this. Then that's it. It's a cameo appearance and you sit him down. But you can do a lot of things with a guy. It could be, hey, you're going to be our primary initiator, and just let's see what it looks like. So we're not going to do that in the regular season, but maybe there's a point if a guy misses time, we do need you to do some of that. And then it's all right. At least you had some reps doing it. You're the one who brought the ball up. You were the one who set the first initial action, and off we went. So yeah, for sure. I think he'll be out there.
All right, let's go here. Oh, Austin's got to throw Jake LaRavia in the backseat with a child lock and drive him to the Lakers front office. Oh, man. That is funny.
He's like, I can't get out of this car. What's going on, man?
What is happening? They're all there for their agency. That's what that is. Like, there was some footage their AMR, their agency, put out today that had Day'Ron Sharpe was there shooting around with them too, and Austin and Jake, a few other players were there as well. So they've got a few guys. DeRon Holmes with the Denver Nuggets, who hopefully he's back and ready to roll for this coming season. Keith, that would be
I talked to some people in Denver because I did their off-season preview, and I was like, hey, I don't want to write this if I'm completely off base. So they're like, no, you're spot on. They're hoping he's their third big. Nice. Like maybe not day one, but at some point next season, third big in the rotation with Jokic and Gordon. That was the hope last year when they picked him in the first round. Now they're really hopeful that he will be there as the third big.
Dustin asked, does the majority sale of the Lakers have to be voted on and approved for it to become official? So by NBA owners, or since Mark Walter is already a minority owner, is it not necessary?
Yeah, it has to be voted on. Minority ownership is not approved in that way. Transfer of majority ownership is. So even though Mark Walter by all accounts owns 20% of the team already, which is also why he's not buying the Lakers for $10 billion. Like that.
Oh, he's buying in at a $10 billion valuation.
$10 billion valuation. It sounds like he's paying like $4 billion, which I mean is still
4 to 5. Yeah, somewhere in there,
somewhere in that range. Yeah, because we don't even know exactly.
Numbers are insane.
Yeah, we don't even know exactly what his final ownership stake will be either, other than he will have controlling interest of the team. But yes, that will need to be voted on and approved. And here's the good thing, because he's already in the NBA system, he's already been vetted. So this should not be one of these processes that takes a very long time.
Right.
Because we're there. It'll mostly be like, hey, do you have the money? You do? Great. All right, done.
Cool.
Let's go.
Give us the money. And here you go.
Yeah.
Do you think the Pels use both picks in the first round? So now they have, 23 and 7. Do they use them both, or do they perhaps try to move? Could they move up to, I don't know, 5 or 4 or something like that? Could we see something there?
And there were some rumors that maybe they were the Ace Bailey team, and that's why they wanted that second pick to move up some to be able to draft Ace Bailey. There's been, I think it was Mark Stein was one of the first ones to be like, well, hold on, that's not what he's hearing. That that may not be it. So I think they think there's a chance they try to move up. I don't think they acquired 23 unless it was for that purpose or for drafting a player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're gonna then trade it just to move it out again. That doesn't seem to make sense. But yeah, I think there's a good chance they use both these picks because their books are cleaning up significantly. But this is a chance to add 2 cost-controlled players for the next 4 years around a roster that's already got some expensive guys. So I don't mind that.
All right, let's go here. And yeah, I'm in full agreement with you there. Michael said Latrev, La Reeves, La Recruiting, La Ravia. A lot of people were making that comparison, going, "Oh, Austin's learning from LeBron. He's out there recruiting." That was funny.
Yeah.
Let's
and it
see.
really is, like Trevor said, they're with the same agency.
Yeah.
So not saying that it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't connect too many dots there.
Yeah, it's not like they're like. Some people took that to be like that was confirmation.
Yeah,
that Jake is signing with the Lakers, and I wouldn't go that far to take that. Like they're in the same place for a reason. Their agency is bringing all their players together.
Yeah. It could have been as simple as, hey, our flights get in at the same time.
Yes.
Let's just drive over together. So yeah.
Should Lakers' new owners buy or trade into the draft? I mean, depending on who their target is and all that, but we have to keep in mind buying draft capital lately in the last few years, we've seen this, Keith, has often required giving up future draft capital. And it's not just but 10 years ago or so, you would see a lot of, well, this second round pick was sold for cash.
Yeah.
That's not, we're seeing more of like it's cash plus a future second round pick to buy a second round pick.
Yeah. And that triggers a second apron hard cap as well. So that's, I don't know that that's going to happen. I will say this though, Lakers have had a history of trading up into the earlier part of the second round. And one of their favorite trade partners to do it with, Orlando, is sitting on 2 earlier second round picks than what the Lakers have. And they've done it with Orlando, I think 2, if not 3 times. And Orlando doesn't have the roster spots to bring in a ton of guys. Now, those picks are in two-way range. So maybe they just keep them. They draft a couple guys for 2 ways for themselves. But if we all of a sudden find out, hey, the Lakers picked up one of the Magic second rounders, wouldn't shock me just because they've done it before.
Yeah. Okay. I agreed on that. Do you see, James said, do you guys think if my Wizards draft Bailey, that will hurt Koulibaly's development?
I don't think so. In Bilal Koulibaly, like he took a major leap from a guy who his first year was just kind of running around out there. Everything was on instinct and athleticism. And really, I thought played pretty good basketball throughout most of his second season until he got injured. So I'm kind of excited for where he goes. I think they could play together. I think Washington is in the middle of building something. That's where having like Marcus Smart on the roster and Chris Middleton kind of help, because those are guys that could be like, hey, like Koulibaly hasn't touched it in the last 7 trips. Like, let's make sure we get him a good look here. Let's make sure we do something with that if that's where it turns into. So, I mean, you got to be a little bit careful. There's a little bit of overlap there positionally for sure, but I think it would be okay with that. James also asked, can Koulibaly become an all-star if he develops his offensive game? I think it's on the table. I wouldn't lock it in. He's got quite a ways to go, but I like Bilal Koulibaly quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to like there. Should the Lakers move up for a big? We kind of talked about that already. Depends on the price and if there's somebody there that makes sense and what the cost is of
Mhm.
doing so.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're moving up into the first round, you're certainly getting you're certainly having to give up at least one, if not two first round picks.
yeah,
Two is if you're not sending any players out. But if it was like we're giving up a future first and connect, yeah, then maybe a team's like, okay, yeah, we can do that for 25th pick or whatever. And I don't know who has that off the top of my head. I'm just making it up, but
yeah.
yeah, you could see that. Somebody said, "Can a team buy a first round pick?" You can. It just very, very, very rarely happens. It hasn't happened in a long time.
Right.
Just straight up buy one.
Yeah.
Like that's just not
You have
really.
to give up something else.
Yeah. Yep.
Jeremy said, it's funny watching TV analysts be stunned by Indy this postseason. I think it's time to admit the Pacers are a great team. Should they be the favorites in the East next year?
Yeah,
I
probably
mean,
right
is it
now.
funny that I don't are the Pacers playing great basketball? Absolutely, they are, and they deserve all the credit. Is it fair to have been skeptical of the Pacers though, like going into the playoffs? Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, how many of these comeback wins would we have ever said is probable, or we may never see something like this happen again with the insane comebacks that they've had just in this playoff run. So I
Yeah.
don't like the Pacers are a good team. Should they get more credit? Yes, but let's also not just fall back on, oh, see, they're just a great team and they're here. Let's give them credit for doing what is very improbable that they've managed to pull off.
I would also be very cautious with the taking too much of what the TV analysts are saying seriously, because a lot of it is just to get a takeoff and to put something out there that people are going to react to. Because I think what happens a lot of times is like it was going into the finals. Oh, they're going to get swept. This is even going to be a series, and I don't even know how much they truly believe that or really care, because last night there was some the Thunder blew it. Like that was it. They're not going to
Mhm.
win now, and it's like, what do we like? You can't. The pendulum doesn't
We
swing that far that
we
quick.
do that a lot. We assume whatever we just saw happen is what's also going to happen next. And that is what I think we saw happen there. That's why I did a poll last night on X and said, okay, who's winning game 7? And the Pacers were winning the poll, even though if you look at the betting odds, that's not the way it goes,
Yep.
because we see what just happened and we assume that's what's going to continue to happen. And that's just not the case in sports.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. What are you guys hearing out of Memphis? I don't think they really make sense at this point as a Kevin Durant landing spot. People have questioned, could they take the draft capital they got in the Desmond Bain trade and then go get in the mix for Kevin Durant? I don't think that makes a lot of sense for them at this juncture. Nor do I think that Kevin Durant wants to go to the Grizzlies. That I also think that this is a team that's probably not going to move Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson right now. I think it would make sense to listen, but it's not something that I see them doing at this moment. I think they're going to take the pieces they got from the Desmond Bain trade. They're going to evaluate what their options are there, and they're going to try to change the dynamic on this roster, especially around new coach Thomas Lasolo. They're going to see what they can find there with him and let him really run the team for a full year. I mean, I was there actually for his first game as a head coach, first game that he took over. And one of the first things he said was, I'm coming into this so late. There's not a lot I can do. Like I'm paraphrasing, but I can't change everything we're doing on both ends of the floor. We're too late in the season. There's not enough time before the postseason starts. So I think that element is going to matter for the Grizzlies this offseason, where they're going to look at things and say, let's see what our new head coach is going to install before we do anything else that's too drastic here to this roster.
Yeah, and I'll just because they're going to jump on you in the comments because they did it before. Isolo is how you say it.
Isolo.
Yeah, it's a double I at the beginning. Isolo.
Is it? See,
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's okay. I just
even going around the press room, we were all debating.
Yeah, because it's who knows how you say an assistant coach's name. But anyway, I think they're going to get off another contract, probably John Conchar, and then they're going to use that money plus the flexibility they've already created, renegotiate and extend Jaren Jackson Jr. and then they're going to build things back up around him and John Morant. And they're going to go forward with those are our 2 max guys now, or near max guys, wherever Jackson's contract ultimately lands. We're going to kind of move, forward with that. So that's going to be, how it goes. So I don't know that Cole Anthony will be there very long. Doesn't make a ton of sense. We talked about that a little bit there. So that could be another trade that we see happen. They've got a couple other contracts they could put together to make trades. They're going to have to do something else in the front court just because Zach Edey's questionable, at least to start the season. So we'll see where that kind of comes together. With that, I do think KCP probably sticks at least initially, only because they need somebody on the guard line with John Morant, and he's not a bad option there.
And I was talking about this on Memphis radio the other day, that I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, not only if you stick with it, like right now, I think they got value for taking on his contract in that trade, and that he is seen as something of a negative value. If Memphis just waits, not only do I think that KCP can be a fit alongside John Morant, it's not out of the question for KCP's shooting numbers, which is a big part of the value that he provides, to bounce back. And therefore, you could get to a point where the player that you took in, and you probably got some measure of draft capital in the balance sheet of that trade in exchange for taking on, could flip to actually become a positive value, particularly when we get to next summer, and then he's an expiring contract on that player option that he's got. So I think it would behoove Memphis to not look to try to immediately flip KCP on what's considered to be a negative value contract. They'd be better off at least waiting until the trade deadline, let him play into the season, see if his value bounces back, and go from there. And in the meantime, I think he does make sense as a fit in a backcourt with John Morant.
Yeah, let's see if he gets back to being a shooter he was all along. Defense it's no longer at the elite level it once was, but still very good. And if he can make shots at a better level, all of a sudden that contract becomes very neutral value, and you can put him into any number of trades down the line if you need to. You don't need to move him right away with that. So,
all right, let's go here. Keith, any thoughts on Yannick Niederhauser out of Penn State?
That is a real name. They didn't try to trick you with a fake.
No. I know that this, a lob threat, big, real. This is a real name. It'll be fun to say. I would have to come up with some puns for that.
Oh, you just got to go with Conan, right? Like
Conan?
Yeah, call him the Barbarian and be done.
The Barbarian?
Yeah. Barbarian Smash or something. I don't know.
It's something like Weird Al Yankovic.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know.
You could even go something with the Niederhauser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 55, that's probably not very likely. He's been a steady riser in the draft process. I think late first round, maybe, but probably early second round for him. I don't think he gets past the middle of the second round. That could be one. And I have no intel on this. If the Lakers really liked him, that would be one where, trade up in the second round and go get him. And it's not going to be something that's going to be an overwhelming cost to do that either. Just go get him if that's somebody they really wanted. So, yeah, he's an interesting prospect. I don't know that he's the starting center in the NBA, but I think he could play his way into being a pretty decent backup center, at least like a high end backup. So, which is not a bad thing for a guy who's supposed to go in the second round.
This one said, I think Houston tries for Jaylen Brown, and what would that look like? I mean, have the conversation, sure, but I don't think Boston winds up moving him unless it winds up being something. Oh my God, Gobert got 5 first-round picks type of, situation. You know what I mean?
Did you see Chom's quote about them?
That would have to be something. What was the word he used? It would have to be overwhelming.
It would have to be an insurmountable.
Insurmountable. That was the word.
Which I don't really know that that's the exact word. That seems like a weird word, but yes, it's going to take everything you have to get Brown or White. Boston's just not motivated to move either one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like what Desmond Bane just went for, that's what they would need. Probably more for Brown, probably around that for Derek White, maybe even a little bit more just because his contract's a little bit better. And Derek White's a pretty scalable guy too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to move either guy.
All right, let's go here. Did you see ESPN 3-team Lakers trade just dropped? To clarify for everybody, this is a hypothetical that they drop. Like, hey, these are trades we would like
Oh,
to
is this
see
the one where
happen.
they trade into the first round?
Yeah, they traded. It looks like I'm looking at it now.
Yeah,
They
and
get
these
they,
could
they
be.
get 8 and
Yeah,
36, and they give up their 2031 pick and Dalton Connect.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what they're giving up.
Sure. I mean, I I will caution with that. They do the same thing a lot of others are doing. They're asking writers to, hey, come up with a trade for
Exactly.
Team X, and then they do. This is not reporting. This is not, hey, these teams are looking at this or anything
No.
like that. Sometimes they hit pretty close to the mark with these. I mean,
And this one
does
was written up
happen.
by Bobby Marks.
Sure.
So obviously, and Bobby Bobby knows his stuff.
Yeah.
But this is very much a, hey, what trades would be cool to see in the draft and that type of. This is not like, hey, this is a real conversation that's happening. But here's the trade. So you've got Brooklyn getting number 11 and a unprotected future first. You've got the Lakers getting number 8. I believe that he's got them picking Malawach in it. And then number 36, and then Dalton Connect and a 2027 top 4 protected first from New York going to Portland as well.
Yeah, so Brooklyn would keep the top 3 if that next pick lands there, because Brooklyn owns that pick right now. So yeah, I mean the value's fine all around. I don't have a huge issue with any of the value there. And yeah, I mean if you're the Lakers, you could swing this trade and get Kama Malawach done every single time and just move on. Like that's I would.
And you might be able to find value at 36 too in this. So it's interesting.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Fun idea.
Yeah. No question. And here's the JoJo Lake show. Just want to make sure we weren't just passing you over, but we did. We're just talking about it here. Yeah. All right, Steven said Hornets fan here. Any thoughts on my team?
Never get Hornets question,
right? Will we be in the running for the number 1 pick next year?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, like so much of it to me, like if the Hornets stay healthy, they're not bad. If the Hornets stay healthy, they're not great. Are they like? And maybe we could talk flat lottery odds, of course, but do you? I guess this is where I land, Keith. I don't look at the Hornets and go, on paper, that's the worst team in the NBA. That's not the way I see them.
Yeah, I'm not there either, but it's we talk about West versus East a lot. They've got a pretty good range to go, even in the East, to catch up to be anything near a playoff team. So yeah, maybe in the range for the number 1 overall pick. Yeah, we'll see. They just need time. Like that front office has had one full year transaction cycle to do their thing. Let's give them a little bit more time to figure out the rest of it.
All right, let's go here. Is Cole Anthony good for the Lakers? I mean, good in the sense that he could provide bench scoring, sure, but I think they need more athleticism, defense on the perimeter. That's really what they're looking for right now. But I do like Cole Anthony, and I think that he could very well wind up getting flipped from Memphis. I don't think the Lakers are the landing spot for him, but he could wind up going somewhere. Like he's not a bad guy to throw into the mix, maybe like in Dallas or something like that would be interesting.
Yeah, he'd be a good, if you put him with another guy, then you're covered at point guard till Kyrie gets back. Sure. Yeah, I don't mind that.
Okay. Well,
whoa.
What? Oh.
Can the new owner change the logo? Why would you mess with the Lakers logo?
I mean, in theory, I guess you could.
But like that's a classic logo.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, there's nothing needs change. None of their logo stuff needs change.
No.
If anything needs change with the Lakers and Celtics, it'd stop all the dumb, alternate, silly, foolish uniforms. Like
Steve Ballmer changing stuff with the Clippers. Yeah, that made sense. It's not like they had this strong, revered history or something like that. Changing the brand that is the Lakers would be crazy. It not only would be crazy, it would be costly. You'd lose money doing something.
I don't like the Lakers at all, but I like the logo.
Sure.
And I like the uniforms, the way I like the yellow ones, the purple ones, and the Sunday whites. All the rest of them.
I hope they go back to, and this is where we get into shades of colors. It's too yellow now. I'd like to see it go back to the real gold that we used to see.
Yeah, I mean, so we asked again, can they? Yeah, I mean, they do.
Yes, they can. Sure,
owns the team now. Sure, yeah. I mean, theoretically, you probably change the team to the Los Angeles Traffic if he wanted to. I don't know, like do whatever he wants to do.
Like we have in Major League Soccer, right?
There it is. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, I don't like. Yeah, they're not. They can do kind of whatever he wants. I imagine if first thing he did was came in and like we're gonna fully rebrand and like not be the way. Like people would be like, sell the team back. Don't get this guy out of here.
The LA Tropics or something like that, right? Like
insane. The Los Angeles Tar Pits or whatever it is. Like, yeah, like that'd be crazy. Like we don't need to be messing around. Somebody I'm not going to go back and find it. Somebody's like, man, the Thunder need a rebrand. Yes, they do. Like they have the most boring logo and uniform sets in the entire NBA, and the team is way too awesome to be that boring. Like, but it just is what it is, man. Like, just change it up. Like they're the only one. The Jazz fixed theirs going into next year. Mm-hmm. They've got the purple back in there. They've got the sky blue stuff. The new Magic rebrand is pretty good, but yeah, I'm there.
What would you do for Thunder?
I don't know. I always think of
get rid of the orange.
Yeah, I think some form of like, I know it's weird because it's not thunder, it's lightning, but like something that evokes like a storm to me, like shades of blacks and purples and silvers and maybe a little red in there somehow. Like that would be pretty cool. But man, it's just it's so bland. Like
wasn't it the Warriors that had the warrior with the lightning bolt?
Yeah, with the lightning bolt. Yeah. I mean, even that could be kind of cool. I don't know. Like, yeah, I would like to see them do something different there. Yeah. So, yep.
Any Lakers trades in the next week? Sure. They definitely could be. The same is true of all 30 teams. I think everybody's going to be active. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for moves leading up to the draft, during the draft. The next few weeks, I think, are going to be very, very busy. Keith, we're at that time of year where I'm jumping every time my phone goes off. Every time I get it. See, look at that. Your dogs are even excited.
Yeah, that's it. I've got radio in a couple minutes, and the dog is telling me it's time. I'll just real quick, LeBron's option deadline, June 29th. Is his option deadline. You can see all that stuff on Spot Track. Click on any player, and it'll tell you under deadlines what they've got going on with that. And then he says, I know you all are trying to recruit them, but how do you think Jake LaRavia? It's Jake.
Well, first of all, you can have Jack LaRavia.
Yeah, I mean, Jack LaRavia might be really good too.
Yeah, you can have him.
Look on the Spurs as a free agent signing. Sure. Good fit.
I think he could fit a lot of places.
With size. Yeah. Shooters with size fit anywhere. And that's like the bare minimum of what Jake LaRavia can be. I think he put the ball on the floor a little bit. I think he holds up fairly well defensively. He's not going to be Herb Jones. You're not throwing him on, incredible wings and getting stops, but yeah. So, but yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I got to run. But yeah, man, we're game 7 on Sunday. Let's go. And if we need to, we'll be here this weekend. If we get that, happens. Long-awaited KD trade goes down in the next couple of days. We'll be back at it. But otherwise, guys, enjoy game 7 on Sunday night. We'll see you next week.
That's right.
Draft week.
Yep. Let's go. Everybody see ya and stay safe.